This is Southern Cross News with Joe Palmer.
Good evening everyone and welcome to Southern Cross News. The Ashley Detention Centre has come under scrutiny, with figures showing it costs more than $10 million a year to keep it up and running for a handful of detainees. On the third day of budget estimates hearings, the government was quizzed on why it's keeping the centre open.
Just 13 young people inside these walls. The cost of keeping a single child at the 51-bed centre working out to almost $940,000 each year.
The detention of young people is a last resort. It's an unfortunate reality that some young people do need to be detained in a youth justice facility.
Despite staff outnumbering inmates 6 to 1, more than half of children returned to youth justice within just 1 year of leaving the centre. The Greens leader questioning if the decision to keep the near-empty centre open was a political move.
Tasmania will always need to have a youth justice facility, Ms O'Connor, and in line with community expectations. This government is committed to providing a stronger and more therapeutic rehabilitative justice system.
Estimates also scrutinising child protection. It was revealed 80% of child protection investigations are not completed within 4 weeks, and there are 250 vulnerable children waiting to be assigned a caseworker, some being managed by team leaders.
Every child is being managed and their needs are being met through their case management tasks.
In housing, Mr Jensch said 116 affordable homes have been rolled out in the last 3 months to start tackling Tasmania's housing crisis. But Labor not so sure the government can stick to its future housing targets.
We recognise the challenges and our investment will continue to be broadly targeted across the entire housing spectrum.
So far this financial year, the number of people evicted from public housing have increased, that number currently sitting at 49 tenants. The most common reason people were asked to leave was due to payments being in arrears. Michelle Wisby, Southern Cross News.
A Tasmanian farmer who lost everything has taken the witness stand during emotional evidence at the Banking Royal Commission in Brisbane. He accused the bank of lacking empathy and compassion in a scathing attack on ANZ.
A farmer has given emotional evidence on the third day of hearings in Brisbane. Michael and Dimity Hurst lost their beef and timber production business after a drawn-out dispute with ANZ.
They have never once ever shown any empathy, they have never shown any compassion, and they have never apologised.
But today, the head of ANZ's lending services, Benjamin Steinberg, apologised to the Tasmanian family on his final day of evidence. He also admitted to a series of failures and misconduct with a Queensland family, the Handleys.
And instead of seeking further information about Mrs Handley's illness, ANZ declined to postpone the mediation.
That's right.
When in fact, Mrs Handley, you tell us in your statement, had been diagnosed with cancer and was scheduled for surgery.
That's what we found out, that's right.
The Commissioner also heard the bank overcharged the family's fees and an ANZ staff member falsified witnessing a document. In other evidence, an internal document in 2015 showed the bank set a target of churning through high-risk agricultural files within 24 to 30 months.
Police have confirmed a heavily restricted firearm was used in a Hobart CBD shooting on Sunday. Detectives say an unregistered SKS semi-automatic rifle was used to fire around 20 shots into the door of Pablo's Cocktails and Dreams. Police are still trying to determine the origin of the restricted weapon, which has been recovered. Investigators say the shooting appears to have been targeted and are continuing to appeal for witnesses. An influx of patients is stretching resources at the Royal Hobart Hospital, with a level 4 escalation declared late yesterday. 80 patients were in the emergency department, with 21 of those waiting to be transferred to wards. Hospital authorities say people were presenting with a range of conditions and there was no distinct trend to explain the surge in demand. The escalation will be reviewed tonight. Hobart's Dark Mofo has drawn massive crowds with a record number of interstate visitors and 60% more tickets sold than last year's festival. Organisers say its popularity has exceeded expectations, while plans are in the pipeline to create a Hobart cultural hub.
As the dust settles on 3 weeks of Dark Mofo, organisers are marking a massive growth for the festival.
We achieved a box office of 3.3 million, up from 2.4 last year, so again exceeded our expectations.
Hobart's pulse felt over 7 nights at 2 of the biggest venues, Dark Park drawing in almost 100,000 people, while the Foodies' Delight Winter Feast attracted 87,000 punters.
What a boon the gift of Dark Mofo is to our trade and to the middle of winter. It's just fantastic.
That trade boosted by the 15,000 ticket buyers from interstate, up by 73% more than last year.
I think we may have hit the limit. I think our venues are now mostly capacity. So who knows where we go from here. I guess we'll just have to keep pushing boundaries and see where we end up.
Organisers saying controversy over contentious art and large tourism numbers strengthened community support, with 10,000 people signing a petition to support the event in the face of criticisms.
I think that's really encouraging, certainly for the senior team, but also the wider staff. There are over 1,000 people that work on the festival now.
I think there'd be a lot of businesses who would not be here if we didn't have the number of festivals and celebrations that we have currently.
While the previous plans for an art tower in Hobart have been sidelined for the time being, there are grand plans for the Odeon site under consideration, with big ideas set to thrive.
Dark Lab's priority is to get Tats working as a live music venue, to make sure the Odeon's viable going into the future, and to invigorate it with other cultural activity across the site.
Louise HEDGER, Southern Cross News.
The coroner has re-examined a decades-old missing persons case using new forensic science to help solve part of the mystery. 43-year-old Joyce Baxter disappeared from Hobart in 1955, and now authorities believe they know her final resting place. Michael Breen has this report from the Hobart Magistrates Court.
Coroner Simon Cooper has been examining the case of Joyce Kathleen Maggie Baxter as part of a review of Tasmania's long-term missing persons cases. The then 43-year-old went missing from Hobart in May 1955, with early investigations suggesting that she'd left for interstate. But fresh evidence has come to light relating to a skull and bones found near the organ pipes on Mount Wellington in 1972. The remains fitted with the timelines of 3 missing women, including the high-profile case of Lucille Butterworth. But the bones were found to have signs of arthritis and more likely from a middle to older-aged woman. Using new forensic science techniques, a DNA sample was compared with Miss Baxter's surviving daughter and was a likely match. The coroner officially ruling the remains are those of Miss Baxter. But part of this mystery remains unsolved, with authorities unable to say when or how she died, including if it was the result of homicide. The coroner closing his findings, saying he hopes it brings some closure to Miss Baxter's daughter after all of these years.
4 Launceston men jointly accused of attempted murder and aggravated armed robbery in relation to an assault at Waverley earlier this year are still waiting to have their case heard. Clinton Charles Wilson, Corey Mitchell Gessler, Jake Douglas Hurley and Samuel Clinton Wilmot appeared briefly in the Supreme Court this morning. Prosecutor Luke Brett told the court the police file was taking longer than usual to complete, but should be finalised in 2 weeks. The men will reappear in court on July 23. The future of Tasmania's poppy growing industry remains unclear tonight, with growers given little option but to accept the price offered for their crop from the industry's producers. Negotiations have been ongoing for months, and while growers aren't happy with the price, they accept the industry isn't what it once was.
Once a blossoming industry for Tasmania, poppies are now a farming gamble, with many not sure if planting will reap a profit.
Once upon a time it was the crop to grow. and as we all know, it's fallen down the scale a little way.
Negotiations with poppy producers Tasmanian Alkaloids and Sun Pharma stalled in May, with farmers unhappy with the proposed 2018-19 contract deal, saying the prices will cripple farmers and force many out of the industry.
There are some growers who are saying no, I'm going to step away from the industry for 12 months. But that's all their decision. They need to make those decisions.
Both parties today have acknowledged there's little room to move, with profits stretched at all ends.
I mean, they're telling us that they're giving us or paying as much as they can for the product, and I believe them. I don't think they're squirreling away huge profits. I think they're in a let's keep the industry going mode, and so that's where it's at.
In a statement, Tas Alkaloids says the current market has necessitated a review of costs, resulting in tough decisions across the spectrum. And while not as lucrative as in the past, the price offered to growers, coupled with seed and expert support, should result in a reasonable return. Despite the lack of price increase, farmers are still confident that the industry will be profitable for Tasmania. They've got their fingers crossed that next year a higher price will be negotiated. Sowing the seeds of other crops is now on the agenda for many farmers, turning to cauliflowers, potatoes and onions. Jessica Moran, Southern Cross News.
Identifying the goals and challenges of people working in Tasmania's agriculture industry is the focus of a new survey being run for the first time by the Tasmanian Institute of Agriculture. The TasAg Future Questionnaire is aiming to provide a platform for stakeholders to have their say and help shape future policies and research priorities.
There's huge diversity going on in the state, and there's so much change, which is part of the reason we're doing this survey, because everything's changing quite quickly and we need to change with that and make sure we're plugged into what's going on the ground.
Those interested can take part on the TIA website. Ale made from the world's oldest surviving beer found in a Tasmanian shipwreck will soon hit shelves in Tasmania. Just 2,500 bottles of James Squire Shipwreck Ale will be stocked in selected bottle shops. The beer was created from 220-year-old yeast recovered from the wreck of the Sydney Cove in Bass Strait. The new brew has been brought to life thanks to researchers at Launceston's QVMag and scientists from the Australian Wine Institute. The beer will be available nationwide from August. Tasmanian women are being urged to put on their runners and start training ahead of Cancer Council Tasmania's 5-kilometre walk run. While for some, the event is a chance to get active, for others it's about raising awareness of a battle close to their hearts.
Out of the cold and into their training, 2.5 months out from race day.
All right, now take a seat. Keep the pedalling, keep that moving. Yep.
These women are the faces of this year's 5-kilometre walk run. For Lisa and Sharon, the event is extra special as they are both cancer survivors.
I was diagnosed with breast cancer 3 years ago and then diagnosed with melanoma last year.
For me, it was a lump that was found, very fast, very aggressive, and just entered the whirlwind from there.
Lisa won't be participating this year as she will have just undergone a double mastectomy and reconstruction.
But my daughter's going to do it for me as part of the My Gym team.
The Sea of Pink will once again take over Launceston on Sunday, September 16. Registrations are already rolling in and participants are being encouraged to start training.
The great thing about this event is that it encourages the community to get together but also to live a healthy lifestyle, and all while raising valuable funds for Cancer Council Tasmania's prevention, support and research services.
It's wonderful for the people who actually have experienced all this.
$76,000 was raised last year. Organisers hope to top that this September. The event also aimed at encouraging people to talk about cancer.
For both diagnoses, I had no symptoms, and so you actually have to be proactive and make people aware and make them aware to obviously check themselves.
Monica Dadson at Southern Cross News.
Launceston City Council will next week consider renaming the North Bank area as part of the park's redevelopment. New names put forward include Cataract Point and Confluence Park, but council officers are recommending the name Riverbend Park be adopted when it goes to a vote on Monday. More than 160 public suggestions were revealed, including Parky McParkface. The redevelopment is expected to be completed later this year. Students struggling to stay switched on in the classroom will soon be given the chance to hit the great outdoors in a new $10,000 adventure therapy project to tackle disengagement. 10 students at Launceston's Queechee High School will take part in the pilot program, with activities ranging from mountain biking to camping.
We know the evidence tells us that using adventure activities is a really great way for young people to feel that they can open up and talk with people and build positive relationships with older mentors and with people in their peer group.
It's hoped the program will give young people skills to handle challenging situations. Now let's take a look at the day's business and finance news with thanks to Tasplan, your local super fund. Australian shares have closed flat, with gains for energy and material stocks not doing enough to overcome losses elsewhere on the market. The ASX 200 index has dropped by 1.7 points. Just a short time ago, the Australian dollar was trading at 73.77 US cents and 108.24 New Zealand cents.
After toppling South Hobart to clinch the Lacquer Seljack Cup, Devonport faces a difficult task ahead, with the Strikers drawing Victorian NPL club Northcote City FC away from home for their FFA Cup round of 32 match in August. The boys from Valley Road will be out to emulate their 2016 effort when they became the first Tasmanian side to make it through to the round of 16. The date and start time for the clash is set to be confirmed later this week. Hobart Chargers women's coach Dwayne Davies says his side needs to shape up or ship out, with finals slipping out of reach. The men will also be treating every match as a must-win from here on out, or risk losing their shot at hosting a home final as the Launceston Tornadoes look to continue their winning ways.
Needing to win at least 4 of their last 6 games to be any chance of playing finals, it's crunch time for the Chargers.
And we've shown that we're capable of, when we can put it together for long enough, that we're good enough to beat any team in the competition. But at the moment, we're just struggling to do that consistently.
Sitting 2 wins outside the 8, things don't get any easier on the run home, with the side set to host 4th place Dandenong on Friday night.
Yeah, look, I think it's sort of getting to the stage where we're going to have to sort of shape up or ship out, I suppose.
Welcoming back import Mathang Muo from injury for their clash with the Rangers, the men can also ill afford any more slip-ups in the business end of the season, with 6 sides, including the Northwest Thunder, breathing down their neck on the Seabull ladder.
A couple of huge weeks coming up for us as far as playing against teams that are knocking on the door, and I think this week is a perfect example. The winner of this week will have a fair chance of finishing in the top 4.
Well, the Tawns will boast some added firepower of their own as they look to solidify their spot inside the top 8, with captain Lauren Mansfield's troublesome ankle coming good just in time for Saturday night's tussle with Dandenong.
Full team this weekend for the first time, so I'm very excited about that, to be able to use all my players, excited to throw them in and see what we can do.
Good evening. Temperatures ranged from -5 at Launceston to our high of 15 at Eddystone Point today. Hobart 11, Launceston 14, Burnie 12 and Devonport 13 degrees. Apart from a light shower on King and Matsyker Islands, a fine day across the state. Bit of cloud, no bother though. Flinders Island and Smithton 14, King Island, St Helens and Friendly Beaches 13, Strawn 12, Grove 11, Ouse and Launceston 7. Now here's a look at the patchy areas of a low mixture of cloud over the state today. Bit of upper stuff moving across the top as well. A more significant mass of middle and high cloud is over New South Wales, Victoria and southern Queensland. That's linked to an upper level cold pool. Frontal cloud is crossing Western Australia. Tomorrow the high pressure systems move to the southeast. The trough splitting them strengthens with a low passing over eastern Victoria. The next front starts its trek over the Southern Ocean. Well, it's well on its way really. Northwestern or easterly winds at 10 to 20 knots, a little stronger down the west coast but more variable over the north. Hobart, a mostly sunny Thursday and 13 degrees, 12 for Cygnet. A morning fog patch or 2 for New Norfolk, but fine and mostly sunny, 11. Launceston, morning fog, but fine later, a top of 14 degrees, 14 for Devonport with a partly cloudy day tomorrow, 11 the high for Campbelltown. Burnie can expect a partly cloudy 13 degrees, 14 for Strawn and also Smithton. For St Helens, showers developing later, 14 the top, 14 for Swansea with a late shower, Fingal a high of 13 degrees. On Friday, showers over the north, central and east, extending throughout during the morning. Showers to start off the weekend, contracting to the west, far south and Bass Strait by evening, and showers over the west and south on Sunday, mainly fine and partly cloudy for the rest of the state. Partly cloudy in Perth tomorrow along with Adelaide. Morning fog in Melbourne, showers for Canberra and Sydney, but clearing from Brisbane. No issues for Darwin, fine, sunny and 32. Partly cloudy at the moment in Hobart, it's 6 degrees, cooling down, 7 degrees in Launceston, partly cloudy in Devonport and 7. Joe, that's it for me. I'll be back tomorrow night with my tip for the Swans-Tigers match.
Oh, and I wonder what that will be. It hangs in the balance. Thank you very much, Murph. That's it from the team for now. Thanks for your company. We'll see you a little later.